Vehicles Committee, full committee meeting, or as full as it gets for the moment. And Representative Bowles, Chairman Bowles, why don't you start us with a word of prayer? What number are you? 22.
Father, we thank you for today and the time that we have together. We just pray that whatever we do, whatever we say, would be an honor to you. And we just do pray for those that are in need, and we pray that your will be done always in our life. And we ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, the way we're going to do business today, Chairman's discretion, is that we have currently the Tesla bill is in the subcommittee. It was put on the table in the subcommittee. We don't have the substitute, but my understanding is that the parties are in agreement at this point in time, and I think we'll be able to assess the bill and take the opportunity to move the bill today, assuming that everybody is in agreement with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the main committee, and we're going to start off with House Bill 48. And Chairman Coleman, if you'll come up and since this is the Motor Vehicles Committee, I'll ask you to run over the bill. Let's see.
Yes,
I mean, you
I'll
have
back
to,
into it if you don't mind.
Yeah. All right. So this is House Bill 48, and
Yes.
Chairman Coleman, this is a compilation of the tag bills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak, since I have a committee starting in about 20 minutes, too, so I hope we don't have a long debate, but if you do, I'll be glad to stay. Anything you'd like. But basically what this is, we'll be working on substitute LC 3900981S. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
That's right.
And if everybody has it, and I'll be speaking, and what basically this is in subcommittee, I think about 4 different ideas were put forward as far as bills, and it was felt a great decision made by the subcommittee to maybe combine these into one, and so we combined it into House Bill 48, which was one that I had. So I'd like to just go over what the bill does, if you don't mind. First, if you look at just quickly, Section 1 was one of the bills that was offered, and that's simply to a prestige tag, a special plate for certain persons and vehicles by adding a new code that states that any law enforcement officer, firefighters, emergency vehicle drivers, ambulance drivers, or other similar public employees who have been injured, in the line of duty, that they may apply and receive a special license plate. And that's what that first section does. It's a special license plate for firemen and, like I said, special policemen that have been injured in the line of duty. Section 2 relates to a free license plate and the revalidation decals for certain disabled veterans. And by stating that any disabled veteran who is a citizen or resident of the state of Georgia shall be issued a free motor vehicle license plate upon application. And of course, it defines the bill what a disabled veteran is, and defines what that would be. That came from, I think it was one of your committee members. That was his bill. Section 3 relates to a special distinctive license plate for veterans also, and this is one who had been killed in action or injured, and it gives them, we have the license plate now for the vehicles and trailers, and this allows it for another one of your members who puts it on his motorcycle, because that's what this guy likes to ride. So he's one of our representatives, and you see him scooting around here quite often on his motorcycle. And the 4th area is mine, one I'm proud of, and it simply says that it relates to a special license plate honoring family members of a service guy who was killed in action. And right now, the parent, the wife, the husband can get these license plate, sisters. But I had a constituent who his wife died and her brother had received one. He had to give his tag back. So we added just a simple word, surviving a member of the family for the spouse, where he can keep that license plate. Section 5 relates to a special license plate promoting certain beneficial projects, worthy causes, and agents. And it talks about, to get these license plates, you've got to have, it talks about how many you've got to have, at least 1,000 prepaid applicants, along with the manufacturing fee before we go out there and start adding another license plate. And then Section 6 and Section 7 is talking about ad valorem taxes and the exemptions for veterans and the exemption for ad valorem tax. And Mr. Chairman, that's basically what it is. I can read them word by word, and we can go to it detail by detail, but that's what the bill does.
It's a good bill. It's for the members of the committee, this is just effectively an update to existing law, inclusive of some additional provisions, primarily having to do with either first responders or people that have folks that have served in the military and warrant the special consideration in these tags. Are there any questions of Chairman Coleman? I don't see any. Chairman Coleman, there's a motion do pass and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign.
Thank you so much.
Off to rules.
Go to rules, what, tomorrow? When will we be there, tomorrow?
I don't know if there's a rules meeting tomorrow.
Well,
I think it's on Wednesday.
Yeah, okay, Wednesday. We're good.
Wednesday.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you.
You always go and wait till we get there.
Long way up. And you always make me come back.
Okay, Representative Fry, you in the room someplace? Come on. This will be House Bill 417. Welcome, Representative Fry. Why don't you talk about our flashing signals here?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm reading off of LC 390943. This is basically a bill that would bring in, kind of modernize our code concerning crosswalks. Currently, as the law sits, you pedestrians have to step out into the roadway and oncoming traffic in order for the vehicle to stop. Our community, as well as other communities around the state, have tried to address this by putting flashing signals on the crosswalks that you see. This just recognizes them in the code. It also has a provision that says it's illegal to hit the button and activate the flashing lights unless you're intending to cross the street also.
Any questions of Representative Fry? I don't see any questions, man. You're getting off easy. Everybody's getting off easy today. So there's a motion do pass by Chairman Epps and a second by Chairman Battles. All in favor by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. You got it. You're off to the Rules Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You and hundreds of other bills are now
I know.
able to move along.
Be an interesting couple of days. Thank you all very much.
You're welcome. Representative Drenner in the room someplace. I don't see Representative Drenner anywhere. Okay. Does anybody know where Representative Drenner is? Probably not. I'm going to suspend on that bill then. Let me tell you where we are right now. Do we have any word on the is it 396? 393. Bruce, do you have anybody or do you have any indication of where it is? Okay. All right. We have the room for about another 20 minutes. I'm going to ask the committee to stand at ease here for a few minutes. So my intention is, since there is agreement between the parties on the Tesla bill, my intention is to move it take it off the table out of subcommittee and move it out today, assuming that the committee agrees with the provisions that are in it. So we're just going to stand at ease for a few minutes here. Okay, we can speak among yourselves. I mean, educate yourselves on anything you want to speak on. 93 by Chairman Martin. This is the bill that is in the DMVS subcommittee. I want you to take a look at it for a minute. This is language that's been agreed to by both the Tesla organization and the dealers organization, and they are both in agreement to move the bill forward in this fashion. Take a look at it for a minute, and then we'll have Chairman Martin comment on it. I will tell you that Chairman Martin has a concern about Section 1, and but we've decided that we will resolve that after it leaves here, and if it requires a rule substitute, I'll certainly author a rule substitute with Chairman Martin to take care of any issues at that point in time. But for the bill to have a chance this year, I think it's timely to move ahead with it. And then I'm going to turn the meeting over to Chairman Epps, and he'll conduct the meeting to take the bill off the table and pass it out of subcommittee. Chairman Epps. Yeah, you can put it in there.
Oh,
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. Chairman Martin, at this time, we'll hear the substitute to House Bill 393. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if it's with the will of the committee, I would respectfully request that the subcommittee remove from the table and entertain action on HB 393. I don't have the LC number that we tabled, but at the previous meeting, we tabled a version of House Bill 393. So if the chair so chooses, I would ask you to move that off the table for discussion, and at which time I would provide you a substitute.
We'll so move, sir. We accept it, and please proceed.
Yes, sir.
Oh, do we do? Okay, I'm sorry. We have a motion to take a.
Motion to take House Bill 393 LC 391022S off the table.
Have a motion second to remove from the table and open it up to new discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Please proceed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I have then today is a substitute to House Bill 393 LC 391022S. This bill has been agreed upon by some effective parties. The operative language, I'll go first to the last, if you will. On page 3 of the bill, you will find the subparagraph 8, I believe it's referred to, and this was the language agreed upon that accomplishes a similar task to our subsection 8 in the bill that the committee tabled. This was agreed upon by the parties involved. It basically speaks the same language as we had before, allows for 5 locations for license for new motor vehicle dealerships according to the criteria outlined. If they had not had a franchise agreement and they could sell that manufacturer's line, they were in business January 1st. The other information on 68 talks about those vehicles that are zero emission vehicles exclusively, so it further refines and defines that, again agreed upon by the parties. I believe they're here and can testify to that. And then 71 through 74 speaks to the case where someone might have acquired or divested particular interest in a manufacturer and takes care of the language around that. The only other addition to the bill is down on line 80, and that's just a housekeeping measure since the items that are excluded are now 1 through 8 instead of 1 through 7, that needed to be corrected for reference. That's on line 80. Now, if I might take the subcommittee back to the section 1 of the bill, this was an agreed upon language by the parties involved. I saw it briefly Friday, didn't know if it was going to stay in as part of the agreement, saw it this morning, and when I took the bill to Legislative Council to have it drafted, I am unclear about the ramifications. We are basically being asked to change the definition of what a defined term new motor vehicle is. I can't, before the committee today, answer the question that we know exactly what that does, but the parties are knowledgeable about this title and have agreed upon this, and Chairman Rice has been good enough to extend us the opportunity to look and make sure that that is not causing mischief, if you will, and I would do that with the Legislative Council between now and bringing that to you on the floor and be able to provide specific information on that. Mr. Chairman, with that, I'd answer the subcommittee's questions or yield to the parties that negotiated on the language on page 3.
All right, now that everyone's fully understandable of the substitute, we'll entertain questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Chairman Battles.
Thank you. Chairman Martin, not necessarily a question to you. I was not here for the first subcommittee meeting, and I take that there is a representative from the Dealers Association here.
Yes, sir. Multiple ones, I think.
And just because I have to go home, and you're satisfied with the agreement that you now have in this piece of legislation? All right, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Any further questions from committee members? Number 22.
No, I'm done.
Representative Bryan.
Hey, thank you, Representative Martin. Also, as far as the for lack of better words, the other side, Tesla, are they in agreement with this information as well?
Yeah, the gentleman's question was the other folks that were involved, representatives from Tesla, they represented to me, representative that they did do that. They're here too. If the committee would like to hear that verbally or an acknowledgement, certainly leave that to the chair.
No.
Oh, Bruce. Thank you, Representative Prince. Chairman Yates.
Yeah, I hadn't had time to study this. What's the main purpose of this bill?
Mr. Chairman Yates, the purpose of this is to allow a company such as Tesla that sells zero-emission vehicles and is currently selling them in the state to have up to 5 locations where they can sell them, at least 2 locations where they would do maintenance on those vehicles.
So originally, I think it was they were going to sell from one manufacturing place. This is extending it to 5 places now?
They, in the original bill that I presented last before the subcommittee, they had 3 current locations, and my understanding was that's where they were going to stay. In the negotiations that I put together but was not directly part of, that were held last Friday, they got to this language to allow 5, at least two of which would have maintenance.
Okay.
But that was agreed upon again. I'll turn back if I may. Mr. Moore, I think, represents his group and his board and is pleased with this language, and I believe Mr. Bowers with the other folks that were directly involved in this. Yes, sir. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Chairman Yates. Any further questions? All right. Representative Barr.
At the proper time, I make a motion, sir.
All right. Well, Representative, I guess with no further questions, this is the proper time.
I make the motion that we accept LC 391022S.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion as stated, substitute HB 393, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same size. Thank you. I guess, Chairman, we convene.
Thank you for the work of the
reconvene.
Thank you for the work of the subcommittee on I think the full committee is basic. You can sit right back down again there, Chairman Martin. And get back in the box. All right. This is we'll reconvene the full Motor Vehicles Committee meeting now, and I think you've all heard the discussion on HB 393. And once again, just we make sure we're absolutely in agreement. The parties have agreed on the language that's in this bill. There is a question about Section 1, which we will resolve before the Rules Committee meeting on Wednesday. And if there is a need for a change, we'll make that change as an amendment to the Rules Committee meeting.
Yeah, and may I,
Yes.
Chairman Rice, and again, let me thank both the parties that worked. If I'm not out of order in so doing, I appreciate them, taking their time. I was on the phone with them on Friday, but they got together of their own volition without me coming to the Capitol, so I appreciate them doing that. Might also say that while it's part of the agreement, my information, just for the committee's edification, while it's part of the agreement, my information currently from Legislative Counsel, and she can verify this, is Section 1 is not integral to Section 2 of the bill, but was part of the agreement, and that's why we're leaving it in there. I need to personally, relate to the committee. I need to be comfortable that we are not causing mischief or causing, mayhem, if you will, in the other parts of the title by so doing that, even though it's part of the agreement for this.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. Are there any other questions of Chairman Martin? Seeing none, does anybody else want to speak on the bill? Doesn't appear that anybody else wants to speak on the bill. We are in the. Did I hear somebody? Well, the appropriate time for a DUPAS recommendation is now. So, somebody moved down there. All right. Mr. Representative Jones seconded it, and seconded by Representative Barr. Okay, all in favor of moving House Bill 393 by substitute through this committee with a do pass recommendation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's done.
Thank you very
Okay,
much. Thank you,
and
members of the
we're
committee.
done. Unless Ms. Renner is here. Is Ms. Renner here? She's not here.
She was in AE today.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks an awful lot for coming. All you want Health and Human Services, you're here.